Thank you, Senator Toriselli. You know, in looking around and listening to the people that you've been listening to, people with the credentials of an Andy Card or Ambassador Bolton and the others on this panel, Sheila Jackson Lee, Congressman Bartlett, and seeing the array of people here and looking at the possibilities that we're looking at in Iran and elsewhere, it really kind of recalls the opening line of the Charles Dickens novel, A Tale of Two Cities. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. In a way, it's the best of times. The possibilities for human freedom today are greater than they've ever been, probably in the history of the world. Freedom is breaking out all over in some very unlikely places. There's reason for hope. People in Ashraf are holding together and are standing up for what they believe in and for what you believe in, which is simply the cause of human freedom and human dignity. And yet, we see a spectacle like the one we saw back in March when Iraqi troops, these are our erstwhile allies, go in with weapons supplied by us, with vehicles supplied by us, applying training supplied by us, and kill defenseless men and women. We see the spectacle of an American ambassador representing his country by saying that the people of Ashraf have to deal with me. I'm running this. This guy could have stole beer for Al Capone. He missed his calling. So it's the best of times and it's the worst of times. How is it that the Iraqis could be so emboldened as to do what they did? And how is it that an American ambassador could be so, hard to think of the adjective, wrong-headed, so reckless as to do and say what he did? I would suggest to you that what permits those things to happen is the continuation of MEK on the list of foreign terrorist organizations. That's what emboldens the Iraqis. That's what sets off people of weak temperament like the ambassador to do and say what they did and said. The cure for this is to remove the MEK from the list of foreign terrorist organizations. And that cure is not difficult to administer. The legal case is there. They don't fulfill the requirements of the statute. They have not been a danger to anybody for well over the last 10 or 20 years. They have renounced violence. They want only the creation of a democratic, nuclear-free Iraq in which rights are respected. And when they are removed from that list, then the worst of times really will be transformed into the best of times, but it won't happen until that designation is changed. And so it is enormously important for you here to keep up the pressure on Congress, keep up the pressure on the State Department, because this is a town in which people respond to what are called forcing events. Things should be done here based on what's right. But it often happens that it takes forcing events to make things happen. And you should continue to be forceful and create forcing events like this and like other conferences that you've held, so that the Congress and the State Department understand that everybody's eyes are on them. But this decision has to be made, it has to be made soon, and it has to be made right. And when it is, then this country will be what Abraham Lincoln said it was, which is the last best hope of earth. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Congressman, very much. I suggested to you earlier that this was a broad coalition of left and right and Democrat and Republican. Indeed, in this town, there is another component of any coalition, and that is the professional government itself. Those who do not have partisanship but just have commitment to public service. And sometimes when I read in the press about the debate about the MEK or Camp Ashraf, I wonder, why are those who are reading the stories rather than engaging in the debate of speculation, not quoting those who actually know. I'm very proud now to introduce to you, and I want you to listen carefully to these credentials. John Sano spent 28 years in the CIA and was appointed to the National Clandestine Services, formerly Directorate of Operations. He came to this position after having served as the Chief of East Asian Division of the Directorate of Operations. As Deputy Director, Mr. Sano chaired the NCS's senior leadership team and oversaw day-to-day management of clandestine services. In addition, he was an active member of the CIA's executive management team and regularly briefed senior administration and congressional officials on matters of national security and covert operations. He also previously served as a chief of station in 2 foreign and 1 domestic locations. You can discount the partisanship of some of us who may have motivations which I believe are only the national interest. But today, and in the weeks that have passed, you will hear again and again the most distinguished names in American national security and diplomacy and military affairs who have a remarkably similar view about the MEK, the mullahs and their regime, Camp Ashraf, and the delisting from the Foreign Terrorist Organization. I'm proud now to present another one of those distinguished voices. Welcome.